Well, I could say good morning to all you ladies who come to visit DP Crazy Lady. I've been up for several hours, but it is 11:05 a.m. It is Saturday, the 10th of June, and I'm going to get ready to diamond paint, of course. Hopefully you can see the painting. It is, once again, still the cat bookshelf. I'm going to go ahead and do a little whip and chat if I can think of anything to talk about. This could be a very short video for y'all. Let's see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, I've finished the 8th kitty, and I will turn the light on in a sec. They finished, like I said, up to their necks, but I finished the 8th kitty and getting ready to do the 9th kitty. I have my trusty tray that I love, and I keep my tweezers here because, well, number one, if I have to pull a drill off, because there's 2 symbols on these that Diamond Art had before when I did the Capricorn, my birth sign, a great big one, and they have a circle. You probably can't see it from there, but it is a white dot in a black square. That's your 310 per usual, per normal. But then almost alongside of it, they have another circle that has a slight line in front of it. And if you're just diamond painting along and not paying real close attention, like when you get in a zone sometimes when you're diamond painting, I've messed up a few times and had to, all of a sudden I went, am I working on 310? Or is that, I think it's 37.99. I think that's what that symbol is. Let me see, just to check. Where is that stupid symbol? And I hate that symbol. I don't know why they use it so close to everything else. Yeah, it's 3371. And it's really weird. It has a straight line and then a little circle in front of it. Like that. And these squares that you're doing, or whatever, it has the little line, like instead of your guide circles, some of these almost look like guide squares. And when you not seeing that little line, you're thinking that's part of a square. You're slapping that 310 on there because that's a circle, and it's just, sometimes it's confusing. So I'll turn my light on, and let's see if I have it up where I want it. I like it nice and bright. Okay, and then I have my, excuse the squeak on this one, have my other light, so hopefully you can see. It's 71 degrees right now, but they said it's going to go to about 82 and sunny. So I expect it's going to be a halfway decent day. Last night, my glue dot in my pen wasn't working very well. I don't know if it was the humidity or whatever it was, but it was extra sticky or gooey or something. So I know when it gets like that, you're constantly wiping it on your hands or your clothes to try to take away some of that stick. Let's see. Okay, now I'm going to be on the 3371, which is those stupid symbols. And how I usually use my other storage to kit up, but there was so many packets of certain colors that the little bottles would not hold all of them. So I went to these Tic Tacs that I had gotten off of Walmart, and I really like these. They're a lot bigger. So 3371, I'll probably have to get some more of the color, but these are larger. These are the wider ones instead of the small, skinny ones. And I think I either bought 3 packs of these or 4 packs. I think I bought 4 off of Walmart. They were pretty reasonable. And I really like these for, to hold larger ones, larger bags. So let's see. What can I talk about today? Well, to begin with, I think I stated it one time before that I'm from an older Italian family. My grandparents came from Genoa. My mother is Romanian. My father was the firstborn, one of the firstborn in the United States. I'm 3rd generation. I think when they came over, they were in New York, and I still have some. I think there's still a couple relatives alive in New York. I really don't know what my grandfather did when he first came over and stuff. I know he became a U.S. citizen the day of Pearl Harbor. I have his naturalization papers in a leather-bound folder that snaps closed. He, I don't know why it was that day, that he was naturalized, but he became a U.S. citizen on Pearl Harbor Day. Let's see, my father was the 4th or 5th child born in our family. I had an uncle. Let's see. I think he came over when he was just a little kid, just little, with his parents. And back then, sometimes you came over on a visiting visa and just never went home. And it happens now too, I suspect. But I remember, my grandmother, I used to love watching that woman cook. Oh my gosh, the raviolis, pasta fazool, she just, she would make a meal that I really, well, maybe you wouldn't consider it a meal. I do, or I did, was she'd make cornmeal mush, and she would put it, a serving for everybody in a bowl, and take her ladle and smash it down to make a indent. Then she'd take her homemade spaghetti sauce. Sometimes it would have meat in it, sometimes not. And she would pour that in that circle, and that's how you ate it. And believe me, that was filling. That was very, very filling. I remember when we were kids, we used to go there, for the weekend, as my parents were divorced, and my father would pick us up, and we'd go to my grandmother's, and we'd stay there for the weekend, or just overnight. And at that time, she didn't have a TV, no television, but she had her radio. And it was always on Saturday night. I feel like the Waltons here. We'd sit and listen to a mystery station where they'd tell scary stories or a murder mystery. And I used to sit there with her and listen to it. I loved it. And they'd make the noises, the creaking doors and chains and, all the bells and whistles stuff. Then I remember when she got her first TV. It was a little bitty, what would it have been? It was a portable. It was orange and white. Because it had that plastic covering on the outside type, where I suppose if you look them up, you'll be able to see them. But they were small, 10-inch, 12-inch, I don't know. I didn't know what size they were when I was a kid. All I knew is that, there's no internet, there's no cable, Wi-Fi, anything like that. You dialed it in and cranked around trying to get your UHF tuned in because it seemed to work better. You were lucky if you picked up a channel or two. And it was black and white. I remember watching that with her. Can't remember some of the shows that we would catch, but she just loved it. She was so tickled, to have that TV. I mean, she'd sit there and, watch that TV and suck on some candy, hard candies, and just have a good time. And it would go off, between 10 and 11. No TV after that. There were no channels on. So that was when you went to bed. That's how that worked. You didn't have late night entertainment unless you were out at a bar somewhere. And, excuse me. So, let's see, I can tell you maybe another story about her. I remember my dad, it was during Halloween. My dad took down there to her house several bags of candy for her to give to the trick-or-treaters. And by the time the trick-or-treaters showed up, she had eaten quite a bit of the candy. So she thought, I may not have enough to give to the rest of the kids, so I'm just not going to give out any candy. And she turned her lights out and sat there and ate more of the candy. My dad said, you were supposed to give that to the trick-or-treaters. Well, she said, I ate some and, felt bad that maybe I wouldn't have enough to give to all the kids. So rather than not give to all of them. I just wasn't going to give them to any. So she just, ate the candy. And speaking of, Halloween and kind of leading it, I will flip-flop back and forth. Don't have a one-track mind. Mine leads off to different directions. But I remember trick-or-treating when I was a kid. Kids don't do that much anymore. It's, a trunk and treat and stuff like that. So they're not any real trick-or-treating. But when I was younger, they had different nights for different areas to trick-or-treat. My mother lived in one area, and my father lived in another area. So there was trick-or-treating on the one night in my mother's area of town, and then the next night was trick-or-treating in my father's area of town. Back then, when you went trick-or-treating, it was totally different. At some houses, they would give you hot cocoa and a hot dog. Other houses, you'd get apples. Some houses would take little plastic baggies and put a little bit of change in the baggies and drop those in your treat bag. You dressed up, you went, and it was, and it's funny, we'd go and you'd leave just as it would start to get dusk and be out for an hour or so. It was dark by the time you got home. Nobody thought anything of it. I do remember when my sister and I were trick-or-treating one year. We were headed away from my dad's place, going back home, and two boys came up and tried to grab our candy. We had little shopping bags of candy. Tried to grab it from my sister, and my sister was 4 years younger than me. She probably wasn't more than, I don't know, 8, somewhere around there. She held on to that bag, and apparently she put up enough of a fight, and I'm yelling, and they let go and ran. Didn't get her candy. Did not get her candy. That was the funniest thing, because they're spinning her around and she's hanging on to that bag like it was her life, savings. And she said, I wasn't going to give it up. I worked for that candy. It was funny. Scary and then funny after. I remember, around Christmas time, see, I went from Halloween, I skipped Thanksgiving. Christmas time, one of my favorite meals at Christmas in an Italian family, we had calamari, squid, and smelt, and sometimes, my aunt and stuff, if we went there, she had, lasagna. And being Italian, I should like certain things, but I do not like ricotta. I don't like ricotta cheese. It tastes like wet sawdust to me. I don't like it. But we'd have the calamari, the smelt, with my father, and a lot of chestnuts. Love the chestnuts. And if my uncle was around, he'd bring up homemade wine. And let me tell you, that stuff could stand on its own 2 feet. it was strong. I can remember visiting family, around that time, enjoying, loud noises, because you get around an Italian family and everybody's talking at once, everybody's really loud, but everybody knows what everybody just said. I I just think that is so funny because, it's like by the time you go home, you're deaf. It's like, but they are very loud talkers. At least in my family, they were. And all talking at once, talking in Italian, talking, Romanian, whatever. They just, on and on and on. And you look back on those times and you don't think anything about them, when you're growing up in them. And then later on, you think back on it like those were the best times. And they say you can't go home again, and you can't. Not physically, but you can recreate. You can recreate those memories. Some are gone. My grandmother, my grandfather, my father, my couple aunts, my uncle, they're all gone. But as long as you are alive, they're still there. Because as long as you talk about them, it keeps them alive, at least in memories. And if you don't talk about them to either your own children or, other people, then, that memory, that person is lost forever. No one knows they lived, they did what they did in their life, and then they passed on. So, either write things down so that the next generation knows of it. That's one of the things that I think is missing in some families, that the past never comes up. They never talk about it. They don't bring up memories, or bring up events that happened in their lives. I think it should. I think they should. I mean, when I was younger, if you didn't have the radio, because there was, we didn't have a TV at my grandmother's. My mother had a TV, but my grandmother, she had her radio. And afterwards, when that was done, if you stayed up later and talked, she talked about the old country. She talked about growing up as a child. She talked about coming to, the United States. And now, what do people do, if they, God forbid, the TV goes out? They sit around going, oh my gosh, what do I do? No internet, no TV. What do I do? One day a week. Just pick one. Just pick one day a week. And if your children are old enough, or, at the right age, you sit down and start telling them things of the past. It's history. It's part of your history. Find out what's involved in your life. What kind of things went on in your family way back when. It's a lesson. It's something that maybe they'll pass on to their children if they have children. So, okay, I went, you guys asked for it, I went modeling, and I don't like doing that. But that's what I tried to do with, my kids. I had two. My son, he's 52 years old. Haven't seen him for a while. That's another story. But, like I said, I came from, a family of 5 brothers and sisters. I'm the oldest. And there's not a whole lot else now I can think of. I'd have to go back into this little man that runs around in my head. Everybody's got one. There's files back there. And then you think, and the little man goes on, runs around and picks up, digs through the dusty files and brings one forward so you can remember it. The only problem is sometimes that little man in my head keeps playing certain music over and over and over again, and he needs to stop that because I'm tired of hearing. You get a tune stuck in your head and he can't get it out. That's when the record starts skipping. So, all right, well, I think I've chatted enough. I'm going to try and work on this and get at least another. I would like to finish the last bit of this bottom half in the next, over the weekend. And I hope I can. Oh, and by the way, when I do squares, maybe it seems tedious, but I will straighten and straighten and straighten as I go. I don't have OCD. It's just I cannot stand when they're crooked. And I will straighten as I go. I will do the, what did they call that method? You do every other one and they'll connect. Why am I losing that? See, that little man can't go in there into that file and find it. But I will do that because I like the way when you come back down on these, if you can even see them, but you come back down on them and they will snap right in the center, the checkerboard. There we go. See, as you get older, the little man in your head gets slower. And to me, that's the best way to do squares. I do the same thing with the rounds too, though. But the squares, I like it. I like doing every other one and then snapping the other one in place, and it keeps them straight. For some reason, it just does. And it drives me crazy when they go crooked. So, well, I better get going off here, and it's about 11:35, 11:40. I got to get ready and have some lunch. And I said I've been up since about 6:30, 7 o'clock. And yes, I drink the same kind of coffee. Well, not the same kind of coffee, same kind of creamer that you do, lazy retired granny. Hazelnut has been my all-time favorite for years. I buy enough of them at the grocery store, and I put them in the freezer. And whenever I run out of the one, I pull it out of the freezer, defrost it, and go on. That way I have them for the whole month. Don't put the diet ones, the sugar-free ones, in the freezer. They will not remix. They won't remix at all. So, well, I'm heading off here and try to get this uploaded. I'm close to 30 minutes. So, I hope I didn't bore everybody. hello to everyone. And I did catch one of your videos, Chef Diamond. I seen it this morning. Lazy Retired Granny. You, you tickle me. You're trying to engineer things to fit everything. I mean, I get your concept. I really do. But you just tickle me how you try to just figure it right down to the absolute letter. And Crafting with V, Tita, Link, or Agent Tink. You got me doing it now, Granny. Hoi Bella, the Enza, you know, all of you that are doing the landscape edition, I applaud you. It's not that I don't like landscapes or Pinson or anything, because I do like Pinson. Some of the things just hit me wrong, and I just can't. You know, I wanted to do this. I really do love Spangler, and anything to do with the animals or Victorian houses and things. If I could find one that has a really nice looking Victorian scenery with a Victorian house and thing, I would do that. I love that. Excuse me. So, okay, I will try and get this uploaded if it doesn't take me 3 or 4 hours again. And I will chat with you again tomorrow, hopefully. And I hope you all have a pleasant day. Enjoy the weekend. And keep diamond painting. You know, stress-free. Enjoy. Love you all. Diamond Painting Crazy Lady, I'm out.